Hello and welcome to Calls. This is the 2021 3M Open Initial Research Show. And as you can tell by the title, we hit another winner this week. Pretty exciting. Now, it's not as hit the Barbasol winner with Seamus Power, who prevailed in a 6-hole playoff against JT Poston at 16-1. It's not as exciting as hitting the Open, but winners are winners, so you take them where you can get them. And hitting that winner made up for an absolutely atrocious DFS week for me. I got my clock cleaned in that regard. But the outright betting card came through for me in that sense. Hit a few top 20s, but overall the Open betting card bombed as well. So I went 1 for 3, but when you hit a winner, that kind of makes up for it. So, guys, join me in chat. I hope you join me in betting Seamus Power this week, or you had Colin Morikawa at the Open. Join me in chat. Comment below. Tell me how you did this weekend, DFS or in the betting card. I want to hear from you. Smash that like button for wins all the way around. I want to shout out all my listeners. I want to hear how you did. I want to shout out winners. And guys, subscribe to the channel if you want decent advice once every, 52 weeks or so. But let's get on with 3M Open. We're in Blaine, Minnesota at TPC Twin Cities. And this will be the initial research show for the 3M Open. And we change over to FantasyNational.com. And as always, all statistics are provided by FantasyNational.com. If you haven't gone and invested yet, what are you doing? It gives idiots like me a chance to hit winners every once in a while. I can't praise it highly enough. It's going to make you a much better DFS player. It's going to make you a much more intelligent outright bettor as well. But as we look at the initial page for the 3M Open, we'll see that I've already narrowed this down to 24 rounds. This field is pretty strong. I'm surprised considering the travel from England, Sandwich, I believe the official is Sandwich, Kent, England, to Minnesota. You've got some guys that were fairly up top of the leaderboard, obviously with Louis Oosthuizen. Now he kind of bombed out on Sunday, but he was playing late into Sunday and going to make this trip over to Minnesota, or at least for now. Generally speaking, a lot of withdrawals will happen Monday, maybe Tuesday, but as of right now, Louis is in the field. You've got Patrick Reed, who I was touting very highly. I had a lot of exposure to Reed in DFS. That didn't work out very well for me. Brandon Grace, I had some exposure to, and an outright bet on him. That didn't go well. Stuart Sink, DJ played pretty well on the weekend at the Open. Really made a charge on Friday. Grillo, Vegas. I don't know if Vegas was there, and if he didn't make the cut. Let's see. Sergio made the cut, played fairly decently. Snedeker top 20'd. That was another top 20 bet I had. Tony Finau made a decent little charge on Sunday. So a pretty strong field here at the 3M Open in Blaine, Minnesota. Which, again, is surprising for me, considering it's the week after the Open. Guys might want to rest or take a week off on their travel, but some guys are just teeing it right back up. I think the first thing we should do, we'll look at the course here in Blaine. It's TPC Twin Cities. It's an Arnold Palmer design. Plays to a par 71. It is, I believe, I'm going to have to check the historic conditions here real quick. Yeah, it's generally long. Last year it played to over 7,400 yards. The year before that it was fairly close to 7,400, not quite. Pardon me, I'm going to adjust this camera just a bit. There we go. So it's a pretty long course, especially being just par 71. You have 3 par 5s, and that's where you make your hay on this course. It sounds like a very common theme late. It certainly has been lately, but the 3 easiest holes on this course. The 17th, the first par 5, the 6th hole, almost 600 yards, but it's the second easiest. Then you've got the easiest, which plays to a score of 4.4. If you're not making a birdie, you're losing. Sorry, I'm reaching for this Gatorade. You're losing more than a half a stroke on the field if you're not birdieing this hole. So you really, really have to make do on that hole. And then the third easiest hole, the finishing hole, is at 596. So you'll see all the par 5s are between 590 and 600. You have 594, 596, and 593. But they're the 3 easiest holes on the course. You would say the 18th is fairly eagleable, maybe the 12th as well, but there's certainly birdie holes. You have to make birdies on that. So I can already tell you tomorrow in the Data Dive show, which tune in for that. But I can already tell you that birdies or better will absolutely be one of the metrics that I look at. Probably definitely strokes gained par 5 as well. We'll have to dig into it, see how easy this course plays. It generally plays fairly easy, but not as easy as, say, the Rocket Mortgage or certainly the Barbasol this week. Not the Travelers either. Shoot, I'm going blank. John Deere played very easy as well. So another fairly easy course, but I don't think it plays as easy as those. But you can see a lot of green here. Par 5s are very, very easy. The par 4s can be tricky, though. You've got a long one here at 468, a really long one. That's the third toughest hole at 501. And then you have a 502-yard par 4 as the most difficult hole in the course. Plays to a quarter shot over par. So just because you have easy par 5s doesn't make the course very, very easy. You still have to navigate yourself around this course. It has places where it can jump up and bite you. There's a look at the initial scorecard. I believe the scorecard here takes it to over 7,400. I'm just being honest. I watched the playoff and basically gave myself 10 minutes to get ready and then hopped live. So still gathering myself here a little bit because Seamus Power saved my weekend. But generally a long course, that's what you can look at, and I'll for sure have the exact numbers tomorrow for the Data Dive show. But as we scroll down and look at some of these various charts, this is more what you expect to see, everything else being normalized on a given course. Approaches outweigh the putting, which then outweigh off the tee, and then to some extent off the tee will outweigh around the green. But you can tell around the green is just not that important here at TPC Twin Cities. It is just not. You are driving the ball far. You're hitting irons well. You're putting well. But a lot of times the scrambling percentage here is not needed. It's not needed, or it's difficult. If you're having a scramble, you won't be in contention. Ball striking heavily outweighs the short game. That's mainly because the around the green is just not a factor this week. And approach and off the tee, or approach outweighs the putting, and the off the tee far outweighs the around the green. But this is what I was alluding to, talking about the scorecard. Your strokes gained by what par hole it is. I mean, this is a big discrepancy. You make your hay here on the par fives. That's for sure. So if you're not playing these par fives well, you have no chance to win at the 3M Open. So you're going to want to be conscious of guys who really, really play par fives well, and focus in on that, or on those players. I don't take much into this, because if guys are not hitting the greens generally, not making their sand saves generally, they're not gonna make the cut. And people usually win when they're hitting the most greens and sand saving and all that stuff. So I don't take a lot of stock into these 3 or 4 charts. Sometimes this 3-putt avoidance can be somewhat telling, but again, if you're winning the tournament most of the time, you're not having to avoid 3 putts because you're sticking it close. So again, these charts can sometimes give some insight. I don't glean much into them. But this is why you should be a Fantasy National member, because maybe you can glean something into it that I'm not seeing. Make yourself a whole lot smarter than I already am, and then you're going to be miles even ahead of me if you subscribe to FantasyNational.com. As we look at the whole composition, all the par fives are between 550 and 600. And they're all between 590 and 600. So I might put a little bit of emphasis on par fives of that length for certain, but I don't want to put too much in it. It's more just who takes advantage of par fives. The rest of the holes are pretty evenly distributed. The par threes are spread out in between these 3 categories. You have 2, 4, 3, and 2 in the different categories of the par fours. So you really don't have a majority, except for the par fives of that one length, to really focus on here. TPC Twin Cities is pretty well laid out in the balance of length of hole. But what is more interesting to me is the approach shot distribution chart here. You can see the majority of approaches compared to tour average comes from 175 and 200. And you're not getting a lot of approaches from the 125 to 175 range here. So you're going to really want to focus on guys who are dialed in with their long irons. Places like Torrey Pines. Let's see, other long courses. Augusta would be another one that a lot of approach shots come from this length. And we'll look into the data dive much more into that tomorrow. But that is something to be aware of, that generally speaking, your approach shots are going to be longer irons as opposed to wedges and short irons. The 2 cut lines for this tournament, it's been at TPC Twin Cities since 2019. So this is the 3rd iteration of it. In 2019, it was -2. 2020 was -1. Those are on the easier side, but not anything. It's not anything like we've seen recently, say the Barbasol, the John Deere, the Rocket Mortgage, where those were 3, 4, even 5 under. This course will play a little bit tougher than that, but as you can see with the scoring distribution round to par, more birdies than bogeys. So generally, by that definition, the course will be easy, especially if this is a much larger chart than this one or graph. It's not to say this course can't come up and bite you. There's more doubles and eagles for sure. But when there's I'll call it a fairly significant more number of birdies than bogeys, and it's going to be an easier course. Looks like you have a bit more accuracy here as opposed to the average tour event. You've got 64% here versus 62% the average tour event. Greens in regulation here are astronomically higher than the average tour event. Almost 9 percentage points higher. You go 73.5 to 65.5. So it's exactly 8 percentage points higher. So that's a lot more greens in regulation. So you're going to really want, if all of the guys are hitting the greens in regulation, or the majority of them are, then you're going to want to isolate who's closer by these approach shots and who's putting. Because if you're hitting the green in regulation, doesn't mean you're going to come out with the result you want if you don't make the putt. So that's something to keep an eye on this week. I'm definitely going to have to adjust some putting numbers, but we're back into what I value in a golfer, which is hitting your approach shots. And now that we've got a significant range to focus on, we can really hone in on the guys who are hitting their irons, who's got the closest proximity from these two distances. Coming down here, average 3 putts per round. Here it's very low compared to the average tour event, so 3 putts per round are rare, so nothing to focus on there, in my opinion. And then if you look here, we're going to want some bombers again this week. So almost 290 yards average driving distance versus 282. That doesn't seem like a lot. It's quite a discrepancy. It's quite a discrepancy for PGA Tour standards when, something within, say, a standard deviation might be 284. This is 290. That's an outlier. So we're going to want the bombers, and we're going to want the guys who hit their long irons well. So definitely 2 angles of attack there that we're going to focus on as the week goes on. But there's a quick look at the at TPC Twin Cities, the course breakdown. Again, I will have the exact yardages tomorrow. Just from eyeball here, I mean, you've got a par 3 that's almost 230, another over 200, another over 200, and then a fairly medium length. I would say this is easily over 7,400, at least by just looking at the numbers here, because all of your par 5s are close to 600. I think that's going to be easily over 7,400 just by eyeball. If we look at the historic conditions of the past 2 years, we're definitely on bent greens again, as we were at the Open. I believe the Barbasol was on bent as well. Again, I don't take much into green firmness because everything can happen with rain or course design or anything like that. Fairways has typically been easy, although it did toughen up last year. Rough's generally considered long here. It was fast in 2019. The green speeds were fast in 2019. Didn't have the data last year. And then, as we see, the course played from 72 to 7,400, and then last year over 7,400. So if we take a broader view of people who are in the tournament this week and their performance at this event the past 2 years, you'll see that Matthew Wolff is the leader in strokes gained total due to his win in 2019 and his top 15 last year. Finau has played well. Charles Howell has played well. Tringali, Werenski, Brian Harman coming off top 20 at the Open. Bryce Garnett has 2 top 30s. Adam Hadwin did not play last year, but a solo 4th. You've got several tied for 3rds of last year here. Griot, Schwartzel, Shelton. Fratelli off an amazing Open Championship, top 5, I believe. Has played well here. Lebioda, McCarthy. Your defending champion is Michael Thompson. He made the cut and then enjoyed the nice walk on the weekend. So you have Matthew Wolff and Michael Thompson, 2 very different styles of players who have won here. Let's take a look here. Michael Thompson. He's typically not good on bent. He is an easy course player. Does well on easy courses. He plays very well in the wind, which could be a factor this week. Granted, you take that with a grain of salt because on Sunday night I was excited that the Open looked like it was going to be a traditional Open Championship with 22-mile-an-hour sustained winds and 30-mile-an-hour gusts, and it kind of dwindled down as the week went on, and then come Saturday and Sunday, it was nothing. It was nothing. It was perfect conditions, which sometimes is great, but when you play an Open, you just kind of have that mystique to it where you battle the elements and you battle the wind and such, and didn't have that this year. But you can see here, Michael Thompson, we're looking at that. Let's look at distance and accuracy. Yeah. See, he's not a long hitter by any means. He's more of your Brendan Todd-like, hit the fairways. Not really particularly great with the irons either. He's just hitting fairways, and you can see he is negative in relation to the field and driving distance. Whereas if we go back and take a look at Matthew Wolff, it always resets itself. If we go and look at Matthew Wolff, he's going to be a longer hitter. Plays it, he's takes advantage of the easy courses. Generally better on bent. But if we go by, look at strokes gained, distance, and accuracy here. Distance, he's good. He's generally positive on distance. It's the fairways that kill him. So, again, two different styles of players. But I'm imagining, and we didn't check this on Michael Thompson, I imagine that Thompson does birdies or better on easy courses pretty well. I kind of want to see one more thing here. Approach and proximity. That's what I want to see for Matthew Wolff. And particularly 175 to 200. Yeah, it doesn't hit that range well, but if you look here, proximity 200 plus, he's generally very good from that distance. So you can see how he navigated this course to his win. Drive the ball far. Your proximity with 200 plus approach shots, generally positive in relation to the field. That's how he got to his win in 2019. Actually, let's go look and see who in the field has just not played this course well. That might be surprising. Cameron Champ is kind of surprising considering he's a long hitter, but as we've seen in the past few weeks when he's in these fields, he can hit the ball a long way, can't do fuck all else. So there you go. Let's see. Van Pelt, he made the cut and he was still negative in strokes gained, that's hard to do. So all the power to you, Bo Van Pelt. Makes the cut and still suck. Vincent Whaley coming off a decent performance at the Barbasol. Seamus Power, your winner at the Barbasol, did not play this course well last year. Scott Stallings has made the cut twice and wasn't awe-inspiring considering he's negative in strokes gained total. Trying to see who else. So there's a few ideas on people who just don't play this event very well. That's interesting to see. Matt Every made the cut both times, and he's the leader in strokes gained. He's the worst at strokes gained. Okay. Must mean he just didn't give a shit on the weekend. So there you go. There is a look at the tournament history for the guys who are in. Let's go back and look at the field here. This is sorted by strokes gained total of the last 24 rounds. You got Louis, number 1, Hank Lebioda, who's been on a pretty good heater here lately. His flat stick has been carrying him to some very, very high finishes. 3 straight top 10s. He had almost a 30th at the Palmetto, a top 20 at the Byron Nelson. And even when his putter faulted at the Wells Fargo, he still, made the cut. It wasn't awe-inspiring, but he still gained strokes total, even with a -5 in putting. A top 15 at the Valspar. So he's on a very, very good run, and bent is his preferred putting surface. So Hank Lebioda is somebody to look out for this week. You've got Seamus Power coming off a win, Patrick Reed, Brandon Grace, Keegan, Harmon, Kokrak, McNeely, and Sink are your top 10. DJ lurks there in the 11th. Griot, Bubba, Stricker at 20th. Kodaira, who had a pretty good Barbasol. Let's. I kind of want to go to driving distance and see who all. So you got Cameron Champ, number 1 in driving distance, but god awful at the fairways. Will Gordon, Johnny Vegas, Luke List, Gary Woodland, Bramlett, Brim, Hagee, Kokrak, and Wyndham Clark are your top 10 in driving distance. MJ Defoe, I think I'm saying that right. Defoe. He was my long shot at the Barbasol, and he played pretty well. Didn't come in the top 20 bet that I had, but he played pretty well. Matthew Wolf lurks at 12th, DJ 15th, Fratelli at 17th, Sink 20th. So there's a look at your driving distance. Birdies are better. This is going to be a very good one to look at, I think. Birdies are better gained over the last 24 rounds. You've got Jason Kokrak, Bubba, Patton Kizzire, Seamus Power, Lebioda, DJ, Troy Merritt, mainly off that strong performance. I believe it was at the Rocket Mortgage. That's right. Missed the cut at the John Deere. Had that playoff with Cameron Davis and Joaquin Niemann, and Davis prevailed. I should remember that because I hit that. I've slept since then, and I've also bet some money since then. But Merritt's been decent, except for this John Deere Classic where he just didn't play well. Had a couple of he made the cut at the U.S. Open, 2 or 3 middling finishes, but 2 straight top 10s, top 7s, missed cut of the Wells Fargo in the top 8. So he's been playing very well lately. So that's somebody else to look for. Obviously, best when it's easy, as he does not play average or difficult courses well. He's best in the wind, which is going to be good for this week as we check the wind fighter at the end of the show. But there's your birdie or betters: Pat Perez, McNeely, Cam Davis at 10th, and then you got others lurking here. Let's see what else we can look at here. Let's look at proximity, mainly from the 2 ranges that we were highlighting earlier in the course breakdown. You got Doug Gim. This is from 175 to 200. You got Doug Gim, Joel Damon, Cameron Champ, distance, and these 175 to 200 and 200 plus. So, if he ever puts anything together, this might be a week for Cameron Champ. At least based on distance plus the 2 approach shots. Now, if he can't, if he's not going to make putts, well, there you go. But underlying data here says that this might be a decent Cameron Champ opportunity. Don't know if I'll quite get there, but there's some positive vibes here for Cameron Champ due to the driving distance. The approaches, we'll have to see what his, let's just look here and see what his bent green performance is. If it'll click. There we go. Well, that tells you everything you need to know. I mean, he's a bad putter as it is, but he's losing a half a stroke per round on the greens with bent surfaces. That's not good. I mean, generally he doesn't do anything well except for off the tee, in which he just hits the ever-living daylights out of the ball. He is coming off a top 15 at the John Deere Classic, and the one area that his game struggled is not going to matter much here at the 3M. So, I don't know. Positive underlying numbers. Still a bit lukewarm. I mean, his form before that, all these miscuts. Now, the thing is, if you actually get a week where his putter cooperates, I'll say, and he's not absolute dog shit on the greens, he's going to have good finishes. You got 11th here when he was 2.7 strokes above the field. You have, I mean, this one's pretty bad, but he had a terrible week around the green. Tee to green, how many times are you going to see Cameron Champ 0 on tee to green? Well, it looks like quite a few, just because his around the green and his approaches tend to be shit. So, I don't know. He's got the distance. He's very good on the proximity for the two ranges. The third here, and he's got a 22nd here. Doug Gim, 1st and 14th. That's very good. Kyle Stanley, 5th and 16th. Cameron Davis, 7th and 23rd. Keegan, 9th and 38th. Grayson Murray, there's a name, 11th and 32nd. Burgoon, 11th and 48. 13th, 16th. See if there's any. Yeah, 20 and 2. Jason Kokrak. There's another one that's very good from both of these distances. 24th both. Pat Perez. So 30th both. You got Ryan Moore. So you've got some guys here that generally play these long irons well. You can definitely hone in on that as well. I didn't mean to do that one. Let's look at par 5 efficiency. Let's do that. Let's see. Just strokes gained par 5. You got Jason Kokrak, Pat Perez, Bubba, Lucas Herbe, Brian Harmon, DJ, Roger Sloan, who's sneakily had some pretty good tournaments here lately. The John Deere wasn't great. I'll give you that. He played fairly well at the Barbasol. I think he was a top 40, I think. Almost top 20 at the Rocket Mortgage. He's been playing okay. Now, his irons are not his strong suit. It's around the green and the putting, and the around the green is not going to be important this week. So, if this tee to green cooperates, if his irons cooperate, basically, I mean, look at this run here where he has some decent iron form. Well, he was mainly middling there. 2.7, not a lot of strong finishes. His numbers seem like they would be better than the results he's getting, but maybe there's a reason he's getting the results. Because I've bet him a couple times, and that's why he didn't come through for me. Let's see. Stuart Sink's 8th, Louis 9th, Gary Woodland and Vincent Whaley is 10th, Seamus 12th, Hagee 14th, Grace 15th. So there's your top performers just on par 5s in general. Let's look at the range that all three of these par 5s fall under. You've got Sepp Straka, who's first at this range, 37 total. Lucas Herbert, 4th and 2nd. That's pretty strong. Vincent Whaley's 10th and 3rd. Kokrak's 1st and 4th. Pat Perez, 2nd and 5th. DJ, 6th and 7th. Hagee, 14th and 8th. So you got some strong corollary here between those players. Guys who play par 5s well and particularly play par 5s of this length well. So that's also something to take into consideration. Let's look here strictly at strokes gained putting. Let's add the bent filter, just so we're looking at bent greens. Your number one putter in the field this week on a strokes gained basis, again, for the last 24 rounds. And you can, another reason to just join Fantasy National, you can adjust this models if you want to play you just want to see who's in fuego the last few tournaments, couple tournaments, 4 or 8, 12 rounds. Or you can go back as far as the last 100 rounds if you just want a whole shitload of data you just want to parse through. And you can do it at Fantasy National. That's why you should become a member. The last 24 rounds, best putters on bent. You've got Jason Kokrak, Cameron Tringale, Brendan Todd, Kazire, Christopher Ventura. That guy always pops up in these models and then just doesn't play well. Just doesn't play well. Johnson Wagner, Troy Merritt, Charles Howell, Aaron Baddeley, and Pat Perez, with Cam Davis, Snedeker, Shank, Defoe, Leviota, Harmon, Herbe, Sink. So a lot of guys stalking the top 10, I'll say. Not quite there, but a lot of these guys that are overlapping, say with the approaches or the driving distance. So you're starting to see some guys that are rising to the top in different categories when you start breaking this down. Let's go back to just a pure strokes gained viewpoint. Sorry, the words lost me there. Let's look at long courses, over 7,400. Let's just look at long courses and generally who plays them the best. Well, you've got Emiliano Grillo as number 1. He had a short game and around the green, the putt. So he's ball striking the ever-living heck out of it. His approaches are great. DJ, Reed, Sergio, Luke List, Johnny Vegas, Bryce Garnett, Bramlett, Usti, and Percy are your top 10. Followed closely by Stanley and Finau. You got Grace and Bubba and Woodland stalking there in the top 20. There's Sepp Straka, Cameron Davis. So there's your guys that play long courses well on a strokes gained total basis. I do want to look at birdies are better on long courses real quick, just to get an idea if there's any overlap or guys that might jump up. And it's a lot of the same people, although the ordering changes. So Grillo's number 1, Luke List is 2, Sergio, DJ, and Reed are your top 5. Champ 6th, Vegas, Kokrak, EVR, and Grace round out the top 10. Trying to see, you got Woodland at 20. So there's quite a bit of a difference there in the 11 to 20 range, but the top 10 stays fairly consistent on the birdies are better and the strokes gained. So a bit of a shorter show tonight. I just wanted to take a quick look at the initial research of TPC Twin Cities. Guys, let me know in the comments, live chat, whether you all like seeing the Pro Visualizer, which is the satellite view. Last couple of tournaments I haven't done it. So reach out. Let me know if you're watching live. Hit me up in the live chat. If you're not watching live, comment below. I'll always get to those. Might not be immediately, but I will definitely get to those. Let me know what you want to see in the research. Do you like the Pro Visualizer? Do you not? Do you want to focus more on, say, the past tournament performance? Do you want more of a course breakdown? The good thing I like about the Pro Visualizer is that it'll give you a general idea how much water or trouble is in play and stuff like that, which most people were paying attention, rightfully so, to the Open, but the Barbasol, the playoff holes all had water on them. All 6 of the playoff holes had water in play, and JT Poston eventually hit his driver into the water on the 6th playoff hole, where Seamus Power just kept hitting 3-wood or fairway metal, and just he was leaving himself 20 to 30 yards more on his approach shots, but he wasn't going to take the chance of losing one in the water, and finally Poston did, which I'm glad, because I hit the winner. But so that's the good thing I like about Pro Visualizer. It just takes a little while going through hole by hole, but if you all like it, let me know and I'll go through it. But as we do with the end of every initial research show, take it with a grain of salt. Let's take a look at the wind 5 days out and see how astronomically different it can be come tournament time. But you've got Thursday looks to be a mess. You've got pretty calm winds in the morning, up to 14 in the morning, but gusts of 25 in the morning, and then just heavier winds throughout the day. Fairly warm at 88. But on Friday, it looks like a little bit of rain comes in overnight. Again, mild winds and a lot of gusts. But then as you get into the afternoon on Friday, it gets up to 106. That is hot. And then the winds die down. So clearly, if this were Wednesday night, I would strongly advocate a Thursday AM, Friday PM split, just because of the wind factor here. But again, 5 days out, there's no point. We'll check back in on Wednesday at the DFS Tactics show right before lineups need to be submitted. But there's an initial look at the wind. It looks like there's going to be quite a bit of rain Tuesday, which looks like it could soften up the course. So it'll be interesting to see as we check through the week what the weather's been like in Blaine, Minnesota. If the course is softer, it's going to really put a premium on those longer irons and the driving distance, because if the course is soft, then the guys who just hit the ball longer with carry are going to succeed more, because they don't depend on run out and roll as much as the other guys. So that'll do it for the initial research show. Again, little shorter show for you. I was a little tied up watching the Barbasol, hoping that Seamus Power would come through for me. Enjoying that Sunday as much as I can. 10 minutes before I went live, so gonna go celebrate a little bit more. But guys, again, let me know in the comments. Reach out to me, on Twitter or Instagram, whatever. Let me know how you did this week. I really want to hear about your successes. DFS, it was shit for me. This was I think the first losing week I've had since I've been doing live shows for you all in the DFS realm. I mean, it was bad. I think I had the right players, but they were all spread throughout my teams, as opposed to, I guess kind of getting lucky and pairing them all in the same one. I think I had a very small percentage that had Spieth and Morikawa. Most of the time I split those, or I had Spieth and Thomas, or Morikawa, and I don't know. I had very little exposure to Usti, which turns out, he came back on Sunday to the crowd, but I mean, the first 3 days I'm like, God, no Usti, killed me. So yeah, it was just not a good DFS week for me. Seamus Power made up for it. So guys, let me know how your week went, or weekend. Hopefully you were on the Seamus Power or even Colin Morikawa betting angle. Smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you want some decent advice once every 11 months. I say that a little bit facetiously. I've hit 2 winners in 4 weeks, so I'm a little bit of a heater, but I think just the nature of the business. It's It's going to go cold. That's why you invest in Fantasy National, so you don't have to listen to an idiot like me. You can go do your own research, make your own models, so you don't have to depend on me and hope that I get lucky once every 11 months like you can. So, guys, that'll do it for the research show. Tune in tomorrow as we dig into the data for the 3M Open at Blaine, Minnesota at the TPC Twin Cities. And until tomorrow, may all your bets be profitable.